So in the last video, we actually just created a Malena application, but we really can't do anything. We haven't added components and we haven't added any logic to our application. So I'm going to start with just showing a basic example of how to create a button and to give that button something to do when you click on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create some member variables for our tutorial application. I'm going to create one which is going to be a a Malena rectangle button. A rectangle button is basically going to combine the SFML rectangle shape and the SFML texture together so that you can actually create a button that is just ready to go outside of the box. So I'm going to go ahead and create a button called, I'm going to call it reset. And so in order to use that reset button, this button, rectangle button class, we need to include that in our project. And all of our components are going to be under our graphics library. So we're going to include Malena graphics, and then rectangle button. So this is where our initialization area is going to come in. In the initialization area, that's where you want to do everything that you need to do to set up this button. Right, so this is where I'll set the size of the button, I'll set the text of the button, I'll give it a font if I need to, I'll give it whatever I need, colors, it doesn't matter. But I'm just going to come with a very basic button. So we're going to do a button that is called reset, which we created inside of our header file. But now I want to go ahead and set it up. So this is going to use all of the SFML member functions that you're used to. So if I want to change the size, it's going to be set size. And then I'm just going to give it a good size. So here I'm going to make it, let's have 100 width and 25 height. And now I want to go ahead and give it a font. Actually, if you don't give it a font, the button is actually set up to just use Arial, which is kind of built into the software. But you can actually create your own. You can actually use your own fonts inside of the project, which I'll show in a different tutorial. But for right now, let's just go ahead and use the default font. So here I'm going to actually also put in the text, right? So since I said this is a reset button, I'm going to just go ahead and put in the string reset. And so by default, both the text and the background color are going to be white. So I'm actually not going to be able to see anything just by keeping it this way. So I can either change the color of the text or change the color of the background so that we can actually see the two. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and keep the background white, and I'm going to just change the color of the text. So I'm going to use a set text color, and then here I'll use one of the SFML built-in colors. In this case, let's just do black. All right, and then finally, we need to add all of our components to our application. And so we're going to call our parent add component, and then we just pass in our objects. And so now our object has been added to the Malena application system, which is designed to automatically go ahead and start drawing our objects and checking the events for our objects. So if I run the code right now, then you'll see that we actually just have a simple reset button that's going to be in our top left-hand corner. So I'm going to go to main, and main, this is how we actually will use our app and run it. So we'll include our app file. So in this case, I call it tutorial app. And then I'm going to create a tutorial app object. I'm just going to call it app. and then I simply call app.run. Right? And that's basically all you ever need inside of your function. This is actually something that I often do. I often make a mistake here. So if you saw the previous video, just know that there was a mistake in there. We need to make sure that our inheritance is public. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to access the run function. So I apologize for that mistake, but we fixed it here. So now we have the ability to run our app, and I'm just going to show a quick demonstration of what that would look like. Just a pretty simple button, right? Reset. No big deal. But now what we'd like to do is be able to create some functionality on it. And so in this case, I want to just say, hey, when I hover over it, I want the text color and the background color of the button to change colors. So I'm going to go to my register events, and then I'm going to go ahead and create this ability. And with Malena, it makes it really simple to do. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say reset.unhover, and then I'm going to pass in a lambda function. Right, and so this unhover function automatically knows when the reset button has been hovered, and as soon as it's hovered, it's going to execute whatever we decide to put inside of our lambda function. So one thing that we always want to make sure is that we add this to our capture so that we're able to capture anything that we have declared inside of our class, our app class. So now that I have that, I'm just going to go and write some code. So again, like I said, when I hover over, I would like the background color to change and also the text color to change. So I'm just going to write that code. Reset.set fill color. We did text color first, so I'll just change that color to white. And then I'll change the fill color . I'll change that to blue. Oops. Cool, and so I'll go ahead and run the code. And we'll see that when I hover over it, it changed the fill color to blue, and it changed the reset to white. But look, when I remove the mouse, when I'm not hovering on it, it actually kept it the same way. And that's because we actually didn't write code to say when we're not hovered, change it back to what it originally was. But that's okay. We can actually do that very simple inside of our register events. So I'm going to say reset.unhover, and then I'm going to pass in another lambda function, and then I'll write code to change it back to what its original values. So in this case, I'm going to say reset. We'll change the text color back to black, and we'll change the background color back to white. All right, and so here, this is one thing that you probably will see when you're starting off with Malena. When you try to access your member variables in the lambda function, you get errors, and that's because it's important that you always capture this. So now if I run my code, we should see that I have the reset button will change when I'm hover, and it changes back when I'm not on hover. Cool. So the next demonstration, I'm going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to create a grid. We're going to use one of the Malena layouts called grid.